be sure to get out in the field. So if you design a job, go out and look at it. Go out and look at it during construction. So you're going to get a lot of value from just going out and being on job sites and seeing how things actually are put together in the field.
Hi, and welcome to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness, an original podcast series produced by the American Concrete Institute. I'm Emilia Clavijo. I'm a structural EIT 1 for Martin Martin in the Bay Area office. With me today is Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Angelo. I am with Sika Corporation. I'm a technical sales rep for fiber reinforcement and chemical admixtures in the Central Texas market.
Welcome to the podcast, and I want to start talking about something I'm very curious about, Amanda, and it's how she started her career as a civil engineer, and like how was it at the beginning and how is it now?
So I've got a little bit of a unique transition to the civil engineering world. So when I first started undergrad, I was actually pre-med, and decided I didn't want to do that anymore when I got finished with my sophomore year. And then I transferred schools and I went to Middle Tennessee State University, where I got my undergrad in concrete industry management. So that just kind of piqued my interest a little bit, and I took the first intro class and I was kind of hooked into concrete. Then I moved to Texas after I graduated and started to work full time for a company called Transit Mix Concrete, and then decided I wanted to go back to school. And I lived in the Austin area, so University of Texas at Austin has a really good civil engineering program, and I decided I wanted to pursue my master's in civil engineering at University of Texas at Austin. And then so I did that while working full time. Then went back to work continued working after I finished my master's. Waited, I don't know, about 13 years, and then decided to, I don't know, maybe pursue my PhD. So I'm back at University of Texas at Austin as well, getting my PhD in infrastructure materials engineering. So it's just I kind of fell in love with concrete and decided to see how far I could take it.
And was that like a something that someone introduced you to, or like did you like just find to be like in the place where you could see everything about concrete and be like, oh, I like this, or like how was like this transition of, yeah, I don't want to do pre-med anymore. Like what was like the inspiration behind that?
Well, I just decided I didn't want to do pre-med anymore once I got to a certain course level that just didn't fit me. So when I switched schools, my brother, he was actually a mass communications major, so he didn't have anything to do with concrete, but he had heard about the concrete industry management program and said that if he wasn't about to graduate, he would have switched majors right then. So nobody in my family is in the concrete and engineering world. My grandfather was a carpenter, so that's as close as I got to construction. Uh, I was able to talk to him about a lot of stuff in construction because he was pretty well rounded in the construction field. But it just, I like to know how things are put together and I like to know how things work. And it just seemed like a really good fit. So,
You were meant to be an engineer. That's yeah, that's how it is.
what
So
about you? What got you into engineering?
well, my dad is a civil engineer, but she does like all the water resources and hydraulics stuff. So I didn't know what to do when I was young, and I was like, well, I need to choose something. And he used to tell me like, well, you're good at math and you're good at like a physics and all of that, so you probably could be a good engineer. And I was like, oh, I didn't know it was that easy. So I just decided to do civil engineering because of that. But when I started, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I was not the huge or the biggest fan of my dad's job. So I was like, oh well, that's not what I like. But then I had the chance to do an internship in a construction And then I had a couple of structural engineering classes, and I was like, this is what I like. And yeah, after that, I was sure I wanted to be a structural engineer. So I didn't know at the beginning, but I always started as a civil engineer because I thought, why not? Yeah.
Hey, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and I have a question, which is, I think, since your experience in like being a PhD student is different, um, what's like, how was your experience like going to school like in person all the time and being like a full-time student and now like working and having a PhD like program at the same time? And like, what's the difference between that? How do
Well,
you manage?
so when I did my undergrad, I just was in school full time, but I also worked part time as well. So I've never in my educational experience been 100% focused on studies. So I've always had some kind of work outside of school. When I transferred to Middle Tennessee State for undergrad, I was more focused on let's get through school and let's get finished with it, right? So I didn't really do a whole lot of clubs or anything like that when I was an undergrad. I really wish I had. I wish I had done, ACI student chapters and, maybe ASCE student chapters, that kind of stuff, um, and participated on a larger level with students. Uh, and it's kind of the same way when I did my master's and worked full time too. So I did have to go actually to downtown Austin for class. So I had to. Luckily, both my job when I got my master's and my current job allows for some flexibility in scheduling. So yeah, I would have to go downtown and actually be in class, several times a week. But I would just start work earlier or work a little bit later. Um, so it's that really work life balance, work school balance. When you add everything together, it's a little complicated. But now I feel like I can participate with the ACI student chapter at UT Austin while providing that experience on the professional side while being a student too. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and like, why did you decide to do a PhD now? Like, what's the reason? Like, why did you say, okay, this is a good time, or getting a PhD at all? Like, some people are like, yeah, I started working, I don't need that anymore.
well, I've always just had a hunger for continuing education.
Hmm.
All right, my mom's a public educator, so I grew up with a big focus on education in my life. It's really kind of funny. A friend of mine, Justin Dickey, he works for Cemex now, but we were going to get together and start studying for our PE, right? So it was kind of one of those areas where I'm involved with ACI on a national level. I'm involved with other associations on on a national level, and I felt like it was time to get some letters behind my name. And Justin and I were meeting one day, and he told me that we would need to put the PE stuff on hold because he was going back to school, and oh, I should go back with him. So I said, okay, well, what are you going for? And he told me he was getting his PhD, and I said, well, okay, let's do it. So it was
That's so
kind of,
cool.
you know, just that little push of encouragement from a friend.
Yeah, but you wanted to do it, so
Yeah,
just help you to be like, okay, I'm gonna do it now.
you get just the difference in medical doctor, doctor of civil engineering,
Yeah,
yeah, doctor either way,
doctor, yeah, at the end.
just a little bit
That's
different.
awesome.
So what made you decide to move to the U.S. and pursue your higher education after undergrad?
Well, yeah, well, I did my undergrad in Ecuador, and I always knew I wanted to do a master's in the US. That was always like my goal. I don't know, like like what was the reason behind that. I just always knew that, and I was like, I want to do that. So I just didn't know how to do it. I was like, there are probably many ways to do it, but I just don't know how to like where to start. And then ACI happened like at the perfect time when I was like kind of lost in like how to start like my journey. And one of our professors my undergrad, he said like, yeah, there is this like previous concrete competition if you want to have a team and just do like a little bit of research and start working. And I was like, I have no idea how to do this or like what is previous concrete, but I'm gonna do it. And I was like, sure. So I had an amazing team and they were all very, very hardworking people and they were like so nice trying to help as much as they could, and we were a great team, and we decided to come to the previous concrete competition in Dallas. And when I was there for the first time at the ACI convention, I realized, okay, people here have like various backgrounds, and if I can ask someone about this, it has to be here. Like you have a lot of students, a lot of professors, people from the industry, people from like all kind of positions that can kind of guide you. And I think that was like what helped me to like achieve the goal, but I didn't like know at the beginning like who to talk to and all of that. And then I decided, okay, I need to come back to the next convention for sure because I need to talk to people and I need to know what is ACI. Like my first convention, I was very lost and I was like, I don't know where to go, so many sessions at the same time, you know? So once I kind of had an idea of how it was, I was like, I need to come back. So that's where I met and Brian, her husband. So I was in San Francisco for the FRC Bowling Bowl competition, and that's where I could talk to professors and talk to students and ask questions. And I met my advisor, Dr. Barnes, and then I could move to Auburn. So I started my master's there. So I don't want to say that I had like a perfect like plan to do it. It just happened the way it happened and it was perfect. Um, but yeah, ACI helped me a lot in this whole process because people there are always trying to help and I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Good, good. Yeah, ACI is definitely a place to meet people and make connections and see where it can take you.
Yeah. So how did you get introduced to ACI?
So when I first started in the concrete industry, my one of my mentors, Jodan Johnson, he passed away last year. But we both worked for Transit Mix Concrete, and uh, he said, you know, he decided he wanted to drag me to a local chapter meeting, and so I went to one local chapter meeting with him, and then it turns out before the next chapter meeting, the guy that was the secretary of the chapter was moving away. So the secretary position was vacant, and he was on the board of the chapter. And he just said, "Hey, I think you should be secretary." So he kind of voluntold me into a secretary position when I was less than 6 months into the industry. So I started going to every chapter meeting. So that was in 2006. So I was secretary that year. I think 2007, I actually became on the board of the Central Texas chapter. Uh, then kind of worked my way up through the different positions. Became the president of the Central Texas chapter for the first time in 2012.
Mhm.
Um, and that was also my first ACI convention. It just so happened that it was in Dallas.
Yeah.
It seems like the first 10 years of my career, anytime I got to travel with work was to Dallas. So that was my first convention was in Dallas. Um, and then I went to one or two more until 2017 when my was my second second presidency, for the Central Texas chapter. And that convention was in Anaheim, California. And then I've been to every convention, every convention since then, and joined several committees. Um, and that's just part of what I do now is I make sure I go to convention and I'm involved in committee work and the student competitions and just promoting concrete um, within my everyday job.
That's awesome. So, when did you decide to not miss any conventions anymore? Like, yeah, I've been to my first convention, then my second convention, and then when did you say, okay, now I don't want to miss any conventions. I want to go to all of them. And how did that happen?
So it was probably really after that convention in Anaheim, because in between then I had worked for a company that it would have been a little bit more difficult to get the support to go to convention. So, but in 2017, the company I worked for fully supported me going to convention twice a year. And then when I came to Sika, that was part of it at the beginning. They are in full support of me going to convention twice a year. Um, it's conventions almost like a big family reunion at this point, right? That's when we get to see people that we've collaborated with, throughout the year. I I joined committees in 2020. So I joined 544, which is the fiber reinforced concrete committee. I joined um, the residential concrete committee, and I also joined. So that's I also joined 360 slab on ground, and then this last convention, I was appointed to the education activities committee. So that committee work, I feel like it's very important that you actually go to convention,
Yeah.
and the committee work is done between conventions, but convention is where committee work is communicated and the collaboration really happens.
Yeah, which I'm glad you said that. I didn't know how much work it's done like behind the scenes. Because when you go to a convention and you attend to the sessions and to the committee meetings, you're like, oh, they do this twice per year, easy, you know? And once you start getting involved in committees, which I've been working recently with Stratentai for 5A, and the amount of work that is done behind it's like crazy. And I think that's something people don't know, and it should be like probably like it should be known more. Like everybody's working their full-time jobs and also like volunteering to be part of ACI because people love ACI. And yeah, when you said this is like a family meeting, that's absolutely how it is. Like as soon as you start like attending the conventions, you get to see people that you always see, and then you become friends, not only like, people that you see sometimes, like you see them all the time, and you get to like, learn together and do things together, which is awesome. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's always like you look forward to the meetings, not only because of the work that gets done, but because, I get to see you twice a year.
Yeah.
Right. So, that is one of the things that makes it special.
Special. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, if you were introduced to ACI before, do you think that would have changed anything? Like probably like when you were younger, that do you think that would have changed anything for you? Or I don't know, because like since sometimes like it's interesting how ACI sometimes is very strong in some places and not very strong in others. So I would have loved to know about ACI earlier, not just like my last year of college. But I don't know if for you that would have changed anything.
I would have liked to have I mean, I knew what ACI was whenever I was an undergrad,
Mhm.
but at that point, I wish I had known more about it. So when I was an undergrad, I went to the NRMCA conference and I went to World of Concrete,
Mhm.
but I didn't go to ACI. And I wish that I had known about the student competitions at ACI when I was in undergrad, so that I could have participated in them.
Yeah.
Right? That's, that would have been the fun thing, is to actually be able to participate in the competitions, since they are undergraduate competitions.
Hmm.
Um, but I get to do that as a professional now, being involved on the volunteer side.
That's
So
awesome.
the uh, like I met you at the fiber reinforced bowling ball competition, right? So that's a competition that we just had at the Toronto convention. We're already talking about the next one, which is in Las Vegas in 2027, in spring of 2027. Um, but just seeing the collaboration with with teams, and being seeing students from all over the world come together and
Participating.
compete
Yeah.
with one thing, right? That's a really something I really look forward to. And I like volunteering in the other competitions too, whenever I get the chance.
Yeah,
So
these teen competitions are probably one of my favorite things to watch. Even though I'm not an undergrad anymore, I love to see like what they like, what they're doing. And like this time in Toronto, the First Bowling Ball competition was like with the aesthetics part of it. And it was so nice to see like how they put a lot of effort in painting their bowling balls and making it pretty, but also making it strong. And that's very interesting to see how people work in people from many countries, like almost, I don't know, 50 universities or something like that. It was like very interesting to see, how people think different but try to have the same goal. And yeah, I really love student competitions. And also, I think it's very important to say that um, there are many opportunities for undergrads, but also for grad students and for young professionals, which is something we don't know when we're like new to ACI. I mean, I didn't know anything about it when I attended my first convention. I was like, oh, this is just like coming and sitting down and listening to people. And now that I've been involved in ACI for 3 years, I'm like, oh, there's way more than that. So yeah, it's
right,
really nice.
yeah, the young members activities, and I guess I would have been like right on the cusp of the young member stuff. I guess whenever I uh, started attending convention regularly. Um, but the thing is even not young members are encouraged to attend some of those things, to be mentors for the younger members.
Mm.
So I do think that's a very valid very valid point that you made, because there's a young member activities committee that is there for a reason, to engage the younger members, and to keep younger members engaged between when they're a student and when they're fully engulfed in their career.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a challenge as you enter the workforce, is making sure you have that support from your employer to where you can still participate and bring back value to your company.
Yeah, and that's very important when you're involved in ACI. You get a lot of opportunities, which is what happened to me. I think ACI opened many doors for me that I didn't know like they were there. And now that I'm a young professional, I know there are people at ACI that will help me if I have questions. Like something as simple as that, or like I want to be really involved in ACI and participate in committees, and that's also possible. And like there are just so many options. So yeah, I think that's something awesome about ACI. So, and now you're a fellow, right? So
I am.
that's
I
awesome.
am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like a long Is it a long process? How does that work?
Well, so you have to be a member of ACI National for at least 10 years
Okay.
and three consecutive in the last three, or three of the last five, but consecutively.
Okay.
Um, and then you have to be nominated. And there's it's a pretty a decently lengthy application, I would say. Um, and you're eligible in the pool for 5 years after your initial eligibility and nomination. Um, I was fortunate to be elected fellow my first year of eligibility, so it was an extreme honor. So now I have letters behind
Yeah.
behind my name, right? So I don't really need the other stuff. No, I'm kidding.
That's
But
awesome.
but yeah, it's becoming a fellow was always a career aspiration for me. Um, I didn't necessarily expect it this early in my career. I
Mhm.
kind of expected to be a little bit older. But it's an honor, and it's nice to be honored and that contributions are actually seen and valued.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, just one last question, which you can say as much as you want to say here. So, for for the young professionals or students, or if you want to give advice to anybody, like what would that be? If it's related to ACI or like to professional development, or I don't know, anything you have in mind.
Get involved. Don't be afraid to step into a committee and volunteer. Volunteer to do work. If it's, work on maybe it's not a code, maybe it's a report, maybe it's a tech note. Um, just volunteer to do stuff and follow through with your volunteer commitments. So that's one of the ways to get involved and to build your network and to be able to have people all across the country, all across the world that you could call on if you needed help, or if you just wanted to go visit. Like, I know who, if I want to go to Ecuador, I know
Yeah,
who to
you can call
ask
me anytime.
where I need to go. Um, you know, but there's also a learn the word no.
Okay.
It's kind of a weird piece of advice, maybe, but learn that you can't take on everything that you're asked to do. That sometimes you're going to have to respectfully decline when somebody asks you to do something, so that way you can maintain a true work life balance. Because if you're not able to have that life part, then what are you working
Not
for?
worth it, yeah.
Yeah, it's really not worth it.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I've never heard that advice, but I'm gonna take that one.
hey, I'm still learning. So that's kind of I'm learning that I have to learn how to say no. It's not an easy thing to do at all. Um, but if you actually stay committed to the things that you value and that you feel that bring value to others, then if it's not on your top list, then saying no is an important thing to be able to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So where do you want to one thing for you, where do you want to go in your career? So I know you're structural engineering. What are your aspirations?
Well, I think right now I'm a baby engineer, but I think I would like to get my PE, and most important, I want to get the experience of working in the industry, get to learn things that you probably never learn at school. So that's my goal for now, and I think that's probably going to change throughout the years. But I want to, like, one of my goals is also start like contributing to ACI like more professionally, because I've been doing that as a student and I'm trying to figure it out how to do it like as a professional engineer and like, doing this like as part of my engineering life. So involvement in ACI and continue learning and growing as an engineer is probably my answer for now. You can ask me again in 5 years and
I'll do
I'll
it.
let you know.
Okay, that sounds
Well,
good. And I'll definitely ask you again in 5 years to see where you are and where you want to go.
I'd love to answer that question and we can watch this video and see how it changed.
Right. One other quick piece of advice is also be sure to get out in the field. So if you design a job, go out and look at it. Go out and look at it
Yeah.
during construction. So you're going to get a lot of value from just going out and being on job sites and seeing how things actually are put together in the field.
Yeah, that's so true. Like sometimes we design things that they're probably not realistically like something you can do like on the field, and people are like, yeah, but like we cannot do this here. Like it's not super easy to build, like, and having that experience is very important for like to make people's life easier. Like construction workers are like doing what we're designing. So that's actually a very good advice. Thank you so much. I love to talk to you today and see you more than 2 times per year.
Right. We will
That was
make it
awesome.
happen. So,
Yeah, thank you so much.
okay. Guys, and thanks again for joining us. And thanks to everyone for listening to this month's episode of Engineering Greatness. Join us each month as ACI brings together pairs of young professionals in the concrete industry to engage in intimate conversations about their life and work. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And for more information on the American Concrete Institute, visit us online at concrete.org. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.